Satya Dharma Reflection on March the 3rd, 2022. Disregard even from the disregard itself. There is only just the attempt to dwell, adding on and on. Disregard, uninvolved, no grasping, even the non-grasping itself, from that attempt to get out of the mind. To dwell within this type of mind or that type of mind is gonna be just a torment. No grasping, even the non-grasping itself. The dwelling within sitting, standing, lying. Nothing is within the non-attachment. A tiny bit of maintaining, it follows already, immediately. It will dive deep. Retreat from the disregarding. Retreat from the disregarding, not just disregarding. Just like there's no grasping for the non-attachment. To be stuck with just non-attachment is not true non-attachment. Retreat from it. That's the uninvolved with the non-attachment. That is brightening. This is not guessing. Don't guess. Using the mind to guess in such a way, that's not the way. Retreat from the non-attachment, from the disregarding, uninvolved with it. Nothing is within the non-attachment. Already said, it's not just about cutting. This is all about the unbound, the essence of the unbound. To be stuck with just disregarding or not, cutting or not, this is just still circling, still limited. Uninvolved even within the unvolved itself. That's the essence of the unbound. Retreat from the disregarding further. Don't be stuck with just disregarding or not. Even no grasping doesn't grasp itself. Therefore, there's no exception towards anything at all. Purify the titi itself. Purify the terminologies themselves. The sentence that purifies itself. Especially all the states of mind. Uninvolved with it. Uninvolved with all the attributes. Don't be obsessed to practice any attributes or any states of mind. Uninvolved even within uninvolved itself is not about attempting to practice anything at all. It's the essence that is non-attachment as it is in its nature, purely. There is just the karmic habits to hold on, to fixate, to cling. Therefore, once there is a conclusion at each time, it will purify that such a karmic habit simultaneously. It's like helping through unwinding and releasing. In fact, it has nothing to do with releasing or not, unwinding or not. detachment or not, the attributes or the forms of helping through the to release or to unwind, because there is the fixation and clinging to states of mind, emotions, and feelings. Retreat from the disregarding further and further. Don't be stuck with just stillness, indifference, or disregarding, or just stopping or dwelling. What is it that is stopping or dwelling? To be stuck with just that. Uninvolved, even within uninvolved itself. That's the essence that has no limits. This is not just stopping or dwelling, or just about ending. What is it that is ending? The unbound is as it is. What is there that is ending or not? What is there that is attempting to disregard or not? That which is unbound as it is. To be stuck with just involved or uninvolved, disregard or not. No grasping, even the non-grasping itself. Nothing is within the disregarding immediately. If something is within the disregarding, it will create realm of existence without knowing. Disregard until it creates stillness and indifference, that which is unlimited, while being stuck with just stillness or indifference, creating realm of existence on and on. Uninvolved with the disregarding itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. To be stuck with just involvement or uninvolvement, how can it be? Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, it will be naturally without limits. Right now, any tiny bit that is there, it will bounce back to oneself. To be deludedly making the mind in this way and that way, it will bounce back to oneself, creating Vedana, exhaustion, and hindrances circling in itself on and on. If unable to retreat from the mind, from the disregarding, if unable to uninvolve even within the uninvolved itself, it just creates troubling to oneself. There will just be preoccupation. If unable to uninvolve even within the uninvolved itself, there will be a total purification. It is not about circling. If unable to uninvolve even within the uninvolved itself, there will be no preoccupation. It's not about circling or being trapped. There will be no trapped. To be stuck with just involvement or uninvolvement, that is circling, is called samsara, in fact. So don't be obsessed to practice samsara or creating samsara or fabricate samsara Let's purify it simultaneously, uninvolved even within the involved itself. It purifies both involvement or uninvolvement, dissolvement of involvement and uninvolvement. No grasping, even the non-grasping itself, dissolve both grasping and non-grasping. To be stuck with just grasping and not grasping is still samsara, is still circling. All the rejection and acceptance is still samsara. If there is no good conclusion, it's still troubling. Being obsessed with thinking like this, like that, the mind like this, like that, that is looking for trouble. Delusively creating issues by oneself. Purify both involvement and uninvolvement, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Use it for the blessing. Use it to purify samsara onwards, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. So that the blessing will not be used by titi, opinions, and meanings like this, like that, because it turns into using karmic difficulties of titi to bless. This is not true blessing. There's just adding on the seeds, opinions and meanings, adding the seeds of vibhak towards samsara. This is not helpful. It's not about blessing at all. Being obsessed like with titi about this is good, this is not good. This is only about titi, opinions, leading titi to circle in itself, just troubling. It has to be beyond simplicity. Beyond there's nothing. That means without opinions and meanings or titi. Because there's nothing, it's still a titi. It has nothing to do with having anything or not. We're with it. No is not even no itself. So don't be obsessed with yes and no, on and on. Let's purify these thoughts, these ideas, dissolve it, dissolve yes and no. No is not even no itself. Delusively thinking that is right or not right. This is it or this is it, not it. It's exhausting. No is not even no itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. So don't be obsessed to involve or uninvolved until being exhausted with it. If the disregarding is there, just disregard from the disregard itself. Don't be delusively disregard until it is create exhaustion to oneself. If thinking to not grasping anything, just no grasping, even the non-grasping itself. Don't be delusively no grasping until it's become a firm rejection. No grasping, even the non-grasping itself. So don't be obsessed with grasping or not grasping, on and on. Being obsessed with yes and no until being exhausted with it. Samsara of titi totally. Delusively yes and no until it's exhausted. This is samsara of Tithi totally. The self all about yes and no. No is not even no itself. Uninvolved with the disregard itself, dissolve it right away. Don't let it become a Tithi of yes and no, disregard or not. Don't be obsessed with opinions about disregard or not. Don't be obsessed with just the feelings of yes or no, regarding or disregarding, on and on. Don't be stuck with just the ideas of disregarding or not. Then it will be true disregarding, that disregarding that is not disregarding itself. Don't sit in stillness and indifference. Get out of here. It's not something in favor to create personal world. Get out of here. Uninvolved, even within uninvolved itself, how can there be the dwelling within indifference and stillness without knowing? Disregard, even from the disregard itself, don't sit in such a way, still involvement, delusively. This is unconscious. Uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, continue with this purification. It will be naturally purified through the emptiness. Nothing is within the disregarding itself instantly. Uninvolved with the disregarding, nothing is within the disregarding instantly. If unable to come down to the conclusion, it's just a trouble. Being obsessed with the mind like this, like that, on and on, is just troubling. It's quickly having a bounce back. It's immediate bounce back. There's a lot of emptiness. To be obsessed with all the levels of crudeness, subtleties, and medium levels, it will bounce back to oneself. To be fixated with such a levels of the mind, it's gonna bounce back to oneself totally. Being amidst that which is not about realm of existence, there will be a bounce back totally. The more of the Ariya, the more bounce back to those who still having the mind of the worldly beings. The more Arahants there are, there will be a lot of bounce back to the Ariya as well. The lightness will be bounced back in itself. The heaviness also will be bounced back to itself, unable to make a conclusion, to come down to ending. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Let's purify well for both involvement and uninvolvement. Purify the attempt to attach or detach. This is the Vedana. It will bounce back as the Vedana. The attempt to attach will be bounced back to oneself in the way that is more intense. Therefore, don't be stuck with just non-attachment or uninvolvement. Disregard even from the disregard itself. No grasping even from the non-grasping itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Once the disregarding is there, disregard even from the disregard itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. That is the disregard that doesn't grasp itself. Uninvolved with the disregard itself. What is there to be confused with? There is nothing that is obscured or confused with. This is not just about discard body mind or state of mind or any attribute. Discard the discard itself. There is nothing to be confused with. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself is the uninvolved that discards itself, the discard that discards itself. This is not just about discard something. Discard the discard itself. The confusion is there because there is the preoccupation to make the mind in this way and that way. What is there that is practicing, the knowing, the seeing, the thinking, states of mind, any types of mind, that is the confusion. Being deluded to practice is a confusion because there is no purification, only just creating. That's called creating the reincarnation, or that God that creates the world is actually you yourself that created. Every thought creates reincarnation. The cycle of becoming. Every practice of the mind, it creates realm of existence totally. It creates samsara totally. Even the uninvolved doesn't involve with itself.
ไม่เกี่ยวมันยังไม่เกี่ยว
Uninvolved is not
เอง
involved with itself.
ไม่เกี่ยวแม้กระทั่งตัวไม่เกี่ยวเอง
Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself.
ไม่ใช่แม้กระทั่งการไม่ใช่เอง
No is not even no itself.
ไม่แม้กระทั่งการไม่เอง
No is not even no itself.
เจริญตัวไหน
What is there to be practiced?
อย่ามัวแต่เป็นพระเจ้าสร้างโลก
Don't be obsessed with God creating the world on and on.
องค์ไหนสร้างคำว่าเจ้า
This is
ผู้
throwing
เองนั่นแหละ
any God to create the world. Actually, it's yourself who creates it.
พากันหลงเจริญพากันหลงดำเนิน
The delusion
พากันหลง
in
ปฏิบัติของพวกเจ้า
leading one another to practice in this way and that way is actually you yourself who create it.
เจริญจิตชนิดไหนก็เป็นภูมิ
Any type of
เป็น
mind
จิต
that
นั่นแหละ
is delusively practiced is the realm of the mind in itself.
ไม่ใช่แม้กระทั่งไม่ใช่
No is not even no itself.
ไม่แม้กระทั่งไม่เอง
Disregard even from the disregard itself.
ไม่เอาแม้กระทั่งไม่เอาเอง
No grasping even the non-grasping itself.
นั่นแหละไม่เอาล้างไม่เอาเอง
That's the no grasping that purifies
ล้า
itself.
งไม่เอง
The disregard that purifies itself. Know that purifies itself.
เกี่ยวล้างตัวไม่เกี่ยว
The uninvolved
เอง
purifies itself.